Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. We actually hope some ladies are listening to this because I think our voices carry a lot of weight. So, welcome to Chibububu episode number 3. I know you guys have been waiting much longer than you thought you'd be waiting, but we wanted to make sure that the content that we brought to you was of top-notch quality. And all I have to say is Barcelona has given us some top-notch quality over the last week to discuss. So, over to you, my panelists. We'll start with Mr. Tendakai. Introduce yourself, and we're going to jump right in after you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Tindakai. It's good to be back on the podcast. I'm an avid Gunners fan, and it's just been an exciting week in the world of sport, especially in the Champions League. Some strange and entertaining things have been going on.
What about you, Ishe? How are you feeling? Are you done mourning?
You know what? We're gonna be fine. We're okay.
Says
Barcelona shall prevail.
says the man who had to turn off the television at what 6-2.
No, at 4-1.
You didn't even go past halftime.
No, I didn't, and I'll tell you why. Remember that the Kansas City Chiefs game?
Uh-huh.
You know how they won? Because that dude who knew he was the jinx walked out of the stadium. Do you remember that dude? The dude who became a meme.
Yes,
Dude was
I
like,
do
"You know
remember
what?
that guy.
Yes,
Manje
I'm
ashinakushanda.
that guy.
Manje ashinakushanda.
So it means I'm not that guy. It
Exactly. It
It
just
must
means.
be Fungichana.
And last but not least, our resident Man United expert. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Tashinga, and I'm very happy today. You know, it's almost 8 to 9.
And what makes you very happy today?
Because it's almost 8 to 9 o'clock
Oh,
here in
okay. I'm getting
Harare.
it. I'm getting it. Those 8-2 jokes will never get old. And I think they won't get old for me because they don't apply. They're not applying to my team as of the moment. So that's good.
Anymore. I remember that 8 to Wenger faced
Yeah, you know what?
once
Some of us
upon a time.
have ceased to remember. We decided to forget. But some good things have come out of that 8-2. You know, we got Mikel Arteta. You got Butch that next week. So I think things are looking up for us. But hey,
Anyway,
gentlemen, while I
I
have you
struggle
here,
with
what do you struggle with? Please speak.
I struggle with the fact that Manchester United speak as if their glory days are current when they're speaking about a 9-year-old 8-2 win. Such poverty.
Well, okay, no, I like that you said that because we're going to segue to our very first segment, and we're going to talk about an 8-2 that isn't 9 years away, but an 8-2 that is just over a week old. So you know, I
I
know you
like
didn't
that.
watch the rest of the game, but some of us, because we enjoy just the pure dismantling of Barcelona team, we watched until it ended, and we were hoping that they would just turn around and play a second leg right then. So you know, my question is for you guys: what on earth is going on at Barcelona? I mean, what's going on? What can we say about H2? Might have been the combination of all the things that have been going on, but what can we say about what's going on in that team? We'll start with the non-Barcelona fans, and then we'll come to you, Mr. Barcelona yourself. So Tendakai, what do you think?
Ish. I think it's been a tough year for them, and things seemed to actually just get harder as the season wore on. Because before the lockdown, they were actually looking like they were in a great position to retain La Liga. But after they came back, too many like draws, losses, and all these things happening. And I think it all starts at the top. And at the top here is the coach and also their president, the president Bartomeu. I don't know pronunciation, but there seems to be quite a bit of disharmony going on, and even the coach who was there, some of the decisions that he's been making, like even in that 8-2, you're playing Arturo Vidal, who's now in his 30s, as a winger, and Arturo has never been a winger. He's been dynamic before, but he used to when he played his best, he was in the midfield three, and he was not. He was actually in the middle. And then Sergi Roberto, you're also trying to play him as a winger. He can do a job in central midfield and he can do a job as a fullback, but that's not the same as being a winger. They were like totally overrun there in the midfield, and I think they're trying to dwell too much on the ball. And right now, I think it's one of those things. If Messi doesn't have moments of brilliance, there isn't really much going on because they've got the forwards, they've got Messi, they've got Suarez, they've got Griezmann, they've got Dembele to come off the bench. They've got that exciting kid Ansu Fati, but that midfield, I think it's aging and it's not mobile enough. I really do like Frankie De Jong. I think even in that H2 he tried, but it was like he was by himself. He was overrun. So I think there's just too much disjointedness going on, and also there a lot of players who are over the hill. They just need to start rebuilding, and I don't know who is leaving, who is staying, but it's just a mess.
So you brought up a very good point. You said it starts at the top. So this week we've seen that they've fired the coach. They've also fired Eric Abidal, who is the director of football. So Tash, do you feel like those types of moves are the moves that are going to get them back, or is there other things that are hindering their progress as a team right now?
Well, being a Man United fan, I really believe in philosophy, and I believe that when you look at the Barcelona of old, right? They had a specific football philosophy that they had. Juga bonita. Pass the ball around quickly
Yeah.
and make sure your opponent doesn't get the ball. Because when you look at the old Barcelona teams, right? One, you'd never get the ball from them, and two, after 60 minutes, the opposition is so tired from chasing the ball that the last 20 minutes they've got nothing to offer, right? And when you look at this Barcelona team playing, it's sort of like lethargic, and there isn't that chemistry and just that pace of play and holding on to the board that they used to do. And for me, I feel like these like most of these players like PK and Messi and Suarez, they're used to a specific type of football that they're not playing anymore, you know?
Yeah.
And I think also that when you look at PK is old, Jordi Alba old, Vidal old, Messi old, Suarez old.
You named a lot of old
You know,
players. Yeah, so that begs the question. I mean, do they have a bad blend of players? You Ishe, you watch them week in week out. They're your team. You follow them. You support them. So how many of these players do you actually want to keep? How many of these players actually are playing for the shirt? And how many of these players are actually part of the problem? What do you think about that?
So I think, well, players being part of the problem, I think there are some who are part of the problem.
Who are those?
If you recall, and I wouldn't say it's like a consistent, but I'll note that they're like last year, we know how there was that tiff with PK.
Yeah.
PK
Yep.
because he wasn't playing well and he was being raucous in the locker room. That wasn't working well. At the same time, Bartomeu was doing some things that made him seem kind of rogue to me. Um, let's look at the last couple of managers we've had since Luis Enrique. Luis Enrique did a great job. And the following two managers aren't really Barcelona people. We had one Bilbao Athletic manager, and then we had Kike Setien. Not that these guys are, I wouldn't say that they're bad completely, because they did do some good things with their teams. But if you notice a pattern, it was when they beat Barcelona, they catch Bartomeu's eye. Like, if these guys were good enough to beat us or to knock us out of Copa del Rey, I think it was Copa del Rey, which Bilbao knocked us out of. Their manager must be good, so let's bring him on. You know, things like that. Which I don't think is a great way to manage a team. And I'm working with that assumption because that's the way it came across to me. But if you notice those managers, like, this is Barcelona. It's almost like how Moyes was recruited to take over from Ferguson. Ferguson's team was at the height of of achievement, right? Top of the league. And rather than get someone who, rather than get someone like maybe Guardiola at that time or a Mourinho, someone who's also at the top of their game, you bring someone who's got a mid table team, but a mid table team that gives you trouble here and there. If they were that good, why don't they take that mid table team higher? So I think there's a leadership problem at that level. At a coaching level, here where do I start? Changing formations week in, week out. Sergio Roberto, I Sergio Roberto, I believe should go play for Leicester or 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 even Howe or Derby County. That's my feeling.
You
And
know,
did you
Leicester and Howe and Derby County are in different
ebo
leagues.
but ndautsanangurira chinhu one
Uh-huh.
Leicester ndeyane handiti kababa
Yeah.
haina kutora mukombe yakatora mukombe manje manje and fine they've got some massive resurgence but like Leicester isn't isn't City, you know what I mean. Leicester isn't Liverpool. Ngaende kumamwe matimu ayayo ana Zimbabwe Saints ndo matimu ake Sergio Roberto handiti ka chiyasonzwisana. For me, he's not a Barcelona player. Fine, he might have the right attitude, but his play on the pitch doesn't lead me to believe that he's being competitive. He might have heart, but when he's on the pitch, his side of the pitch is not competitive as far as I'm concerned. Semedo plays with heart, and I believe he can compete. The problem is he doesn't come back, and which then leads me to a coaching issue, right? Which also then leads me to, are there players who are being problematic in the locker room? I think it's possible that we've got like player chaos and player discord or discord within the team. We've got rumors that there are some players who are rebelling against Messi, and Messi is also throwing hissy fits here and there. And that to me speaks of a lack of leadership, which is both a coaching and a captain's problem. So a locker room problem in general. Mtara,
So as you're saying this, I just want to interject. Do you
yeah,
think
go ahead.
Messi has too much power? I've heard this from many different people. Do you think that he has too much control over the talent that they bring in, or who's playing, or the formation, or things like that?
I won't speak to control. I won't speak to control. I mean, we get reports that Messi cut short his holiday to come speak to the coach. I don't think that's a problem, right? Because fine, the coach is his boss, but when we say he cut short his holiday, and that's the text of the article. Messi cut short his holiday to come speak to the coach. The immediate assumption is Messi is coming to interview the coach. But what if the coach was the one who called Messi back? I hope you get what I'm coming from.
Yeah, no, I get what you're
Guys,
coming
can
from.
I interject?
And
Can I
just
interject?
let me finish my point, Tash. Sorry, so I don't lose my train of thought. And so while I believe Messi has some influence, that is important and and on the basis of his accomplishments, I do not believe he has too much influence. What I might observe, without, because I mean we're not in these boardrooms, we're not in these locker rooms, and we just get articles from the press and reporters who are there. What I do see to be happening is that there might be a board trying to pull in one direction, and players asking questions like what's going on, and players resisting, which then speaks to, in my mind, the fact that it means that there's not a proper communication of direction, vision, values from the top down. Because if it was all the way from the top down with consultations, with agreements, and with forward progress, we wouldn't be having all of these issues. That in a clear direction kuti right akomana ndo philosophy yedu iyi ndomatambura tinoita bhora handitika hande kumberi zvakawira zvakadaro. But when you start hearing zvokom zvakadai, so it means there's a leadership problem. A lot of these things come back to leadership.
Tash, what
Okay,
were you
can
gonna
I ask
interject?
a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So my question is, number one, is Messi still the same player he was?
In what capacity? I mean, he's not scoring
In terms
70.
of, okay, so I'm saying, does he have the same kind of impact that he used to have on games?
I think it's diminishing, but
And
it's
I'm asking,
diminishing with age. But it's still he's able to evolve his commitment to games. So as I think I pointed this out. I don't know if it was in an episode or not, but he is the only player since Thierry Henry did this in 2003 to have scored over 20 goals and had over 20 assists in the league in all of Europe. So that just shows you that even though he's not scoring as much, he's still setting up his team to be able to score. So he's still genuinely, him and Ronaldo are still the two best players in the world. But he's
Absolutely.
33 at this point. So at some point you have to start winding down. You have to start building around some other up and comers. So that's the
And
question.
and I
Thank you.
think
So
that's
so
a
for me,
that's
I think the biggest issue that we're ignoring here is that I blame the the Barcelona Youth Academy because it's dried up, and that's the honest truth. You know, you look at Madrid, right? And they've got Danny Carvajal,
Hmm.
Isco, Asensio, you know, all these guys that have come through the youth and have taken over in the team, right?
Yeah.
Cristiano left, no one misses him, right? Because these guys have
oh
come in and done
Aiwa,
what needs to
Aiwa,
be done,
Aiwa.
right? But when you look at Barcelona, Iniesta left, Xavi left, and you're supposed to keep what's this guy who scored a brace against you in the last minutes? Isha, I need you to say his name.
Philippe Coutinho.
Exactly. Remember the name. You should have never
The
let go of
mistake.
that guy, man. Should have never let go of that guy because he was part of the transition and you let him go. Because I'm assuming King Messi wasn't happy with the guy. This is my assumption, but I think you need to look at the youth. Like no one's come through for Barcelona in the last 5 years, and I don't blame anyone besides just you know that's just how it is. You know, Madrid had the same problem 5 years ago where they could not buy a player, and then they thought they'd fix it by bringing in Benitez. They tried to bring in Mourinho because they thought they needed to fix the structure, but the real issue was in the feeder of the club that there was no one there, and that's what's happening with Barcelona now.
May I beg to disagree?
It
Um,
is your purview.
because I think it's not that it's La Masia that's not giving us players. I think it's like with
Key
Abidal
players.
there, we were buying more than we were like we've got La Masia players who've come up that we're shipping out. I mean, Rafinha was the way he's been playing with other teams and he's on loan. Coutinho is on loan. You get what I'm saying? So Neymar left, got replaced by Coutinho, who was sent out on loan, replaced by Dembele. You get what I'm saying? Who gets injured a lot, fine. And then we have Ansu Fati uh, coming up. You get what I'm saying? And it's not like if you hear the complaints that come up, it's not that La Masia isn't giving us players. La Masia is there, but it's that we were buying. So
Doesn't give
the
you
impression I
which
get is
players.
that we were trying to build up a Galacticos of sorts. Like if you look
He's
at
asking
our
which players
Yeah,
have come out of La Masia.
so
recently.
manana fine hapana ma-players amuka and that's my point.
Thank you, and that's my
Hamusi
Wait,
point.
inzwa
That's
zvandinotaura
is
exactly my
and
point.
but inzwa zvandinotaura tashinga inzwa zvandikutaura and
Uh-uh,
I'm
uh-uh.
saying
You're
I
not. I
agree.
need you to accept what I'm saying.
Listen, take time to listen. I didn't disagree that La Masia
You did.
we haven't had players. I listen at what I disagreed with. I didn't say that La Masia hasn't produced players. What I disagreed with is whose fault it was that we're not getting players from La Masia. So while your argument might be that La Masia is not producing players, there I would disagree. Because if you look at the junior leagues, Barcelona is performing. But what you will see
It's not
is that we're
about the
not
junior leagues,
taking
mate.
wait, we're not taking La Masia players. But those are the La Masia players. We're not taking La Masia players. What's happening is that La Masia players are coming up and then they're going elsewhere. And not Delufeo and people like that. What's actually happening is that we were buying players. Do you get where I'm coming from?
Okay, so are you saying that all these guys you're shipping out don't want to play for Barcelona?
No, I'm not
Is
saying
that
that.
why they're being cheap?
I'm saying we had a director of football who was choosing to overlook the
Who didn't
fruit in
want good players to
his
play?
own yard.
Yeah, basically, that's
Yeah,
basically what
and
he's
I
saying.
think, and so I think I also have another question, a comment and a
Oh, and
question.
by the
Like
way,
when
Ansu
I look
Fati is
at,
La Masia. Before I forget,
yeah, okay, you have
Nimfana
one gem.
Kaipa.
Woohoo! Yeah. So the other thing that I have to ask you is like when we look at your midfield, especially where you guys are struggling and the people you've bought, you've got like Vidal who's in his 30s. You guys did a swap deal for Pjanic, who's I think 30 or 31. But I think like what Tash is also saying is that I feel like from the top, there wasn't really that plan going forward. It was like you guys were great for that, I don't know how many years, let's say maybe 8 years, where you were pretty much either winning things, and then Champions League, I think you haven't won in about 5 years. But as Tash was saying, when Xavi and Iniesta left, there was that kind of gap. And for us, I remember even when, what's it called, when you guys were tapping up Fabregas to get him back to your squad, which you did.
You
And
tapped
then
up real hard
he
there.
yeah, and then he did, and then he had like his first season was really good. His second season went quite well, but then kind of faded. And even when he left, it was like he wasn't really in the plans anymore. But even for him, I think if you listen to some of his interviews that he's done recently, he even says that when I went to Barca, I think I went a year or two too early because Xavi and Iniesta were still kind of at their peak, and I should have maybe gone like a year or two later when Xavi was kind of
Mhm.
finishing off, and then I would have more of a role. Because when you look at right now, one of the best midfielders, who in that game, uh, against what's it called? You guys against Bayern, Thiago. That guy is from your academy. He also left because he was feeling like he wasn't getting enough game time. Which the problem I feel like you guys had is like when you had that great squad, it was as if those guys, even if you had your 60 games, whatever, Xavi and Iniesta were playing in like 55 of them. The Fabregas and the Alcantara would come on for like maybe 20 minutes, and they got frustrated because they were like maybe 24, 25 now, and those guys now are like Thiago's like 29, Fabregas is like 31. He's kind of, and he's still doing kind of things. But if they were still at Barcelona, but you've spent money on these Vidals and things like that, it would be different. Yes, they're a bit old now, but maybe it would have brought in that culture. Like I feel like some of the people that you have now kind of also don't have really, like what Tash was saying, the way that you transition, the way you move,
Mhm.
it's not the same. And then we look at one odd thing that I always wonder about you guys every year, you spent like 100 million something on Debele, 100 something on Coutinho, 100 something on Griezmann, of which Coutinho, who hasn't, even when he's been at Barcelona, was not uh performing badly, but you sent him out on loan and he destroyed you in that semi. Was it the semi? Oh, in the quarters. And yeah, he was not celebrating. In my mind, I was like, it was probably better for him to celebrate because that's like false humility. But I digress. When you look at those guys that you spent that you spent over 100 million on, you're like, but why? You guys at the same time, and then you sent out Coutinho because he wasn't playing as much, or I don't know what it is. Maybe the coach didn't like him, but those guys have not added anything to your attack because your attack is mainly Messi and Suarez. It's like you've been looking for the key to replace Neymar since Neymar left. And what was the reasons for Neymar leaving as well? You also kind of okay, Neymar, we think he's also a diva, so it might be more to it, but also
Absolutely.
Very much a
but
diva.
but yeah, exactly. But also he was like, everything's about Messi here, which at that time, rightly, because he was like up there, like Messi is Messi, so maybe he wanted a bit too much of the light. But it's like some of the players that you've had, like you look at the Thiagos, the Fabregas, the Neymars. The problem is they've lost. Let them leave more in their peak, and then now you've been trying to rebuy these things, and it's like the people you've been buying either maybe they just don't fit your mold or whatever it is. It just hasn't worked. And then we'll get to your new coach very soon. But yeah, that's what I wanted to say for now.
So yeah,
And
so I think before I let you back in here, I'll let you back in a second. I think people have hit the nail on the head for my feelings for Barcelona. It's this attitude of trying to stay where you were, which is you had world class talents all through the lineup, but if you don't allow other kids to grow into that, like what you were saying, Ishe, of you instead of looking at La Masia and letting those kids blood into the league, you go, let's go buy someone. Then after a few years, when those players that you need to replace are getting older, and those other players that could have replaced them are going, we don't have opportunities here. You are where you are. which is where Barcelona is right now. So yes, it's a good question. So my last question I want to pose to you guys, because we'll need to move forward from this, is we have a new coach. We'll probably have a new football director for Barcelona. How many years do you think it will be before we are seeing the same kind of production from Barcelona that we were seeing when they were winning the treble, or when they were constantly in semifinals, finals of the Champions League?
What's it taken Man U, what, 5, 6 years to get back to the Champions League?
Yes, but yes, it's taken 5 to 6 years.
So was that the question you asked, Isha?
Siyandipindura mvunzo.
Hey, let's
Usatha
answer
my
the
emotions
question.
panapa.
Hey,
So the way I look at it, because they have to bring back the culture. Like, I mean, even if I think about the players we've got, Shamar, it breaks my heart. Fine, we've got Puig and Ansu Fati coming up, and a couple of new guys who were brought up under pressure, and Titika from the youth squad, from La Masia. But I mean, Montoya, Rafinha, the Paco Alcacer was bought. He didn't think, but Ana Montoya, we had lots of great players, that we just let go. Imagine, like, Rafinha could be holding down that midfield, and he could be taking over from Busquets or Iniesta, like when they were coming up. And he was coming up, and he's playing great for Celta Vigo. But anyway, as I digress, I think maybe to answer your question, probably about 3 to 4 years, maybe
Okay.
five, because I think it will take. So what I appreciate about Coleman, is that because he's someone who's played for Barcelona before, and he was mentored by the great, the indomitable Johan Cruyff, that he will bring back that culture, and he'll bring back the Barcelona philosophy. He'll bring back our tiki taka and the innovation that needs to happen to tiki taka, in order for us to progress with the way people are playing football now with analytics and so on and so forth. So
Okay.
I think it'll take a little bit of time, but at the same time, one of my worries is that there's an election next year, and that the expectation might be that he delivers within the next year, so Bartomeu can keep his seat next year when elections happen.
Politics should not mix with football, but we'll leave that alone. Tash, what do you think? How long before they come back?
I think I'll give them 2 years, and for two reasons, right? I think I think right now, like there's too much talent in Spain for teams to decline for too long. You know, when you look at Man U and what happened with us, like there was no one there. No one wanted to play for us, and then eventually we went in Champions League, and so which made it even worse. And then we had crap coaches for like 5 years, and the culture in England is just so different when it comes to football. But with Barcelona, when you look at football in Barcelona, it's a religion, and you can't like you'll destroy a whole city, if Barcelona isn't at the top. And I think it's going to depend. I think their systems are too good as well. La Masia, I know I was beating down on it, but I think their systems are way too good for them not to have good players. And Messi, for as long as Messi is there, they won't be down for too long.
I can agree with
So
that. What about you, Keo? What do you think? How many years?
Ish, for me, I think when we're talking about them getting back to what two is this
We're,
like
we're talking
winning the
about
Champions League?
Yeah, we're talking about them. Actually, they had no chance to win the Champions League this year. If it wasn't Bayern that beat them, they would have struggled with Lyon and whoever else. So, like, to the point where you're like, we're in the Champions League, we're playing Barcelona. They legitimately are the best team in Europe.
Okay, I think that may be 3 4 years because for La Liga itself, I think because it's pretty much Madrid or Barcelona. Atletico has been fading. I think that's a different story, but I think Simeone probably needs a new challenge, or they need, yeah. I think he's taken them as far as he can, but I think it's always going to be between them and Real because of the investment and the history and everything. So that I think they can even win maybe I don't think they'll win it next year, but maybe even the year after that, depending on what happens. But for them to get back at the top, I would say maybe 3, 4 years, but it depends on a lot of things. What decisions are they going to make? Because even looking at their coach, like Anesu's saying that he's former Barca, it's been inbuilt in him and everything. And I followed Koeman a little bit, and to be very honest, I have no trust in that guy at whatsoever because even if you look at what he did at Everton, he was actually given quite a bit of money and he was buying what people like Klassen. And I think his first window, I think he was only there a year, but I think in the summer and in the summer and also in the winter transfer window, he like bought attacking midfielders. I think he bought like 4 attacking midfielders in his short spell at Everton. So I don't really trust him with transfer decisions. So I don't know. He might surprise us, but I don't know unless they're going to give him he's not going to have as much control and he's just doing the coaching because I think when he's got like people to work with he does a better job because I support the Netherlands, so I've basically been seeing Koeman for the past 2 years. And with our we also needed like a rebuild after like World Cup, uh what is it, 2014, we didn't even make the Euros and things were just rough. We were
You're an
also kind of
embarrassment. You're an embarrassment.
no, but
Poverty.
but yeah, after we lost like
Guys,
people
3 years is
retiring.
so long.
Yeah, so like after the Van Persies and that generation, Schneiders and all those people kind of lost. It's the same thing. We weren't really bringing in our younger people, and now we've got a pretty good squad building Van Dijk and the Wijnaldums and things like that. We don't have our team is more like a team now. It's not like we have any real superstars. Our superstar would actually be Van Dijk, who's a central defender. So even with Koeman leaving Netherlands, I don't even say that I'm really sad. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I would have liked to see what he'd have done at the Euros, but I'm not like, oh no, our coach is gone. He's one of those guys. I don't trust him enough. So we'll
You're
see what
ready
he
for him to
does.
go.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, gentlemen. Well, I think, again, like we said about Manchester United and we've said about all the other topics that we've had, we'll revisit this. We have plenty of time to see how the season goes and how teams improve, how Ronald Koeman handles being the manager of Barcelona for the first time, and we'll go from there. But we're going to move on to our segment number 2, which is entitled Haref. Our Haref question for today is, did Mauricio Sarri deserved to be fired as the manager of Juventus. So, he managed Juventus for just one season. They won the Scudetto for the 9th year in a row, I think, and they got to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, but he was fired. So, I just want to ask you guys quickly, you don't have to tell me about their team and their formations. I just want to know, do you feel like he deserved to be fired, yes or no? And do you think they're going in the right direction? So, we'll start with you, Ishe. Do you think he should have been fired, yes or no? Are you there? Are you there? Okay, we'll start with you, Tentakai. Do you think he should have been fired? Yes or no?
Yes, I think he should have been fired because basically, yeah, he was brought in to get them to challenge in the Champions League. They got knocked out pretty easily, and he won what they always win. And he also lost in the Coppa Italia final, so he didn't really do much better than the previous coaches.
What about you, Tash? What do you think?
Yeah, I think he deserved it. When you go to Juve, the league doesn't matter. You play for the Champions League, and he failed at that,
Yeah.
so he had to go.
And
Boys zangu. Boys zangu.
Tauratinsu.
Msadaro. Aiwa Msadaro. Aiwa Msadaro.
So you don't think he should have been fired?
I'm because I'm thinking, okay, remind me, Tate, how did they do last year in the Champions League?
I mean, they haven't done well in the Champions League since they got to the final. What was it, like 3 or 4 years ago, when they
So
lost to Real Madrid?
yeah, and then how did they do last year? It was what, quarters again.
Yes, yeah, they've been to the same level in the Champions League for the last few seasons.
So he matched their performance that
Yep.
they had the previous year, and he deserves to get fired.
I mean, that's the question.
I'm trying to understand Kyo and Tash's perspective. Okay, let me put it to you this way. Personally, learning from Barcelona, some quick firings are unnecessary. Um, like perhaps because like last year we see Valverde, fine, he was fired, and I was upset because we got kicked out by Liverpool of all people. and especially the way we got beaten. But at the same time, I had noticed something with the way he was building the team. We were improving defensively when he was playing. So from my perspective, Sari, while he wasn't amazing, if you look at how Juventus lost, and got kicked out, I really wouldn't say it was gross coaching incompetence. Bora idenderedzwa kumana. Sometimes it's actually one of those, it's your days. For example, how Arsenal beat Real Madrid in the final of 2006. Amana, how many times did Raul hit the bar in that game?
Yes. Okay. So I mean, I don't disagree with what you're saying. I think what we have to consider with Sarri though is the fact that he's been fired after 1 year from his last two jobs, and he's been successful. I mean, with Chelsea he won the Europa League. They got into the Champions League. With Juventus he won the league, but they still end up firing him. So there's something that these boards or these teams are looking for that he's not able to deliver on. And so that for me is a red flag, and that's why I'm like, I think he's fine being fired, but we'll take it. We'll take it. It's 3 versus 1. Three of us think he should have been fired. You don't think he should have been fired.
Yeah,
Pamwe
and
great.
just to
Pamwe
add
ane
one more
personality
point.
yakaipa.
No, that in it, my dad always says the business of business is business, right? And when you look at Sari, right? If he'd won the Champions League and then gotten fired, then we're like, okay, he didn't deserve it, right? But he never did anything special for him not to be fired.
I mean, I don't
So for
disagree
me,
with that.
it was a business decision. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, our third and final segment. We want you to appreciate us because we're trying to make these things short and to the point, so that you're not listening to us for too long, but so that you want to come back. So we're gonna go to our final segment, which is Apinzwadea. So we're gonna talk about who we think the biggest loser in the world of sports this week has been. So I'm gonna start because I have the microphone. But for me, this is bias talking. But I live in the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex, and I'm an avid fan of all of our sports teams. And we had Game 1 of the NBA playoffs against the LA Clippers, and I think the biggest loser in that game was the referees, because they ejected Kristaps Porzingis for something that didn't make any sense, and the Dallas Mavericks went on to lose that game number 1, and then we won game 2, which shows that we could have gone toe to toe with the number 2 seed in the West. So I think refereeing in professional sports, whether it be basketball, whether it be the Premier League, it's really at an all-time low, and I think it's a big loss for the sports, because people are just getting angry at the officials and being detracted from actually being able to watch the sport. So that's my Pinzwadea for the week, is the referees in the NBA. What about you, Tashinga?
For me, I think the biggest loser was me and all the Lakers haters in the world, because after game one we thought, finally the Lakers are gonna go down, and then we watched game two and we're like, nope, our dreams were crushed.
You and Isha, because he wants to see LeBron lose.
Listen, guys, I'm not
Yeah,
a LeBron hater.
Okay.
I
We
am.
we
I
will.
hate
I
LeBron.
I just don't think he's the goat.
Hey, don't be bearing the lead. We'll be going to that episode soon enough. What about you, Isha? Who do you think the biggest loser of the week is, other than Barcelona and H2?
Dini Inini, I am the biggest loser. Let me count the ways. Firstly, all right, the last episode I picked Barcelona as my dark horse. Do you know who's coming out as the dark horse right now, gentlemen? Olympic Lyonnais, right? Secondly, my team lost 8-2. Thirdly, all right, um, one, I didn't want Dame Lillard to make the playoffs, and then he did. Two, I wanted Jamorant to be the one to have a legendary rookie playoff performance. He didn't, all right? And now
Luka
LeBron
Doncic.
looks, now it looks like Luka Doncic and Tate are going to have a legendary playoff performance, which is then going to make me look bad. And then I'm going to have to be shamefully facing Tate every week when we
You
do
know
these
it.
recordings,
You know
as
it.
he boasts about his about his young new Jerry West. Personally, I feel like ndindapinzwa there, and there racho rabva bhuku rangu. Handiti ka.
I like that. What about you? What about you, Tendekai?
My biggest loser, unfortunately, is Tashinga's beloved Harry Maguire, because even if he's released tomorrow, guys, the memes that I've just seen, and I had like a very busy work week. I haven't really been on Twitter, but the memes that I've just seen in the last
Tell
six
the people what
hours,
happened to
ish.
Harry Maguire. Tell the people first before you go too far.
So,
Harry
so yeah, so Harry,
Maguire was impersonated by someone, and they think
hanzi
it's the
tashinga here
guy
unonzi
that he
kiyo here
wanted
iwewe
to.
unonzi iwe haunzi
Okay,
kiyo
my
kiyo
bad, my
taura nyaya
bad.
yako.
so Harry Maguire is in Greece right now on holiday, and I read something earlier saying that earlier in the day, yesterday it was, he was actually with Brandon Williams and Rashford, but in the evening he wasn't, and he's been arrested because he was in a fight. And all the memes that we've been seeing, people saying, so now you can defend and all this stuff. Where was this fire during the season and all that? So, ish, he's my biggest loser, because we're gonna have, even if the story blows over tomorrow or early next week, we're gonna have memes for days.
Let me just say this:
If
we've
only he
had
could defend the goal the way he defends his friends.
we've had 3 episodes of this podcast, and in every episode we have managed to talk about Harry Maguire. So I think he is actually the loser and the winner of Chibububu. But ladies and gentlemen, we thank you so much for listening. We thank you for coming by. This has been Chibububu. Put it in your ear, like, subscribe, share with your friends. We'll be back in your ears sometime next week. And I just wanted to end by saying there's a couple things for you to watch out for this weekend in the world of sports. We have currently going on the Europa League final. And then this weekend we will have the Champions League final and the rest of the first round of the NBA playoffs. So if you love sports and you've been missing them because of Corona, they're back. So we'll see you next week as we talk about something else that's probably Harry Maguire related. See you guys later.
And Tash, one more thing for you: Lukaku has scored.
Lukaku has scored.
I hate him. Can you have him as the biggest loser next week?
See you guys later.
Because he is the loser, not because he lost.